It's a big day tomorrow, Joshy. 10 races. We got some guaranteed pools.
Yeah, 25. Of shipping. He's proven it time and time again. And I think that's a big angle on some of these horses because you're coming to a new track, new surface. There's a lot of things to take in, especially on big days.
I think a nice thing for Princess of Cairo, too, is going to be this distance where 6.5 and a mile and 16, that's kind of what Hastings offers. That's what they have. There's no mile shoot. There's no mile cutout in the rail, so you're stuck in a mile and 16. I think this will be a nice trip for her.
Yeah, and you look, he did run it a couple times at Turf Paradise, so he's familiar with it. And he clearly seems to like that mile-ish distance. He ran a very good mile in the 16th at Emerald. I think this mile probably hits her right in the head. I think that's probably a perfect distance for her.
And I think what you talked about off the top there, with her stalking ability, I don't think she'll be 2 lengths off the pace will be faster than 24 or 48 in this one. You got some real gas up front early on.
Yeah, and I think the nice part is she's shown she can come from farther out of it if she has to, and she's versatile. If for some reason the pace isn't hot, it should be relatively quick, like you say, but she's capable and she's pretty tactical, so depending on the shape of the race, she's got a few different strategies to win, which I think is just another positive for Princess of Cairo, a very live contender.
So Princess of Cairo just heading by the Lexus VIP tent here. She'll hit the grandstand. Just an easy morning here, getting acclimatized to Century Mile. First time to Edmonton. First time to Century Mile for the Todd Barn. So 3 live runners. Looks like 5-star General will be tough in the mile as well.
Yeah, great to see Glenn ship some horses out here. I mean, 5-star General, he ran that huge race in the Long Acres Mile, and he looks to be a very live one for the Century Mile.
So they'll be crossing here momentarily, but headed at the top of the lane. That'll be Sarah's Elegance, one of 2 from the Ron Greaves barn. Does have Babs Delight in the race as well. We won't see her this morning, but we'll get a good look at Sarah's Elegance here.
And Sarah's Elegance is a very honest 4-year-old filly. For a horse that started her career just about 13 months ago for the bottom maiden level, she's sure made an impression here. Strung a bunch of good races together. She's only missed the board twice, and those are 2 fourth-place finishes. She's as game as they come. She'll have Rafael Zentino Jr. riding her once again on Saturday.
Really did nothing wrong last year. 3 for 4. It hasn't really run a bad race this year. It's just running against some tough horses.
And you look in her 3rd lifetime start last year, she was only beaten a couple lengths by Celerity. She has a win at this distance. And she's ran decent enough against state competition this year. She just shows up every time, and that's all you can really ask.
That was the same Celerity, though, that went on to win a stake in her next start.
Yeah, and considering 2 starts ago you were in for maiden 62.5, I mean,
yeah.
It's not exactly... I mean, she was progressing and getting better and better, but that just shows how good Sarah's Elegance is. It's like she was able to hold her own in career start number 3 against a horse who went on to win a stake.
Kicked off her season with a win this year, and 3rd, 4th, only beat a couple lengths in those races, so she's not like she's without any hope in here, and then she's going to get a chance to at least make an impact down the lane.
Yeah, and she's one of the lightly erased ones in here still. She's only on career start. This will be career start number 9 for her. She's facing some very seasoned horses, so maybe Sarah's Elegance can continue to keep getting better and better. And she's held her own so far in 2 stake races. If she makes a little improvement, she could be right there.
So again, that's Sarah's Elegance, Malcolm Carlton in the irons this morning, Ron Greaves, Barn on Ranches. They do have 2 in the distaff along with Babs Delight. Looks like we'll have a third one on track here momentarily. It's the Barb Heads Invasion again. She came over last fall and kicked a lot of butt in the stakes program with one of these horses. This is Solarity.
Of August, beaten a couple rivals she'll have to face today. She's Divine and Raider, and I think it's interesting when you look through Solarity's form how much bold there is in the running line. She's faced a lot of these rivals. They've traded punches more or less, but Solarity's right up there with them. She will get Antonio Whitehall on board, and she's another pretty darn honest horse.
I love that last race. I thought that she was able to sit just off the pace. It wasn't too quick early on, 24:47 to the half. And when she got going, she just inhaled the leader there in interesting times and was able to keep on going and hold off the late runs from Raider and She's Divine.
Yeah, she really had a nice kick down the lane because I know on the turn I was watching her and you weren't exactly sure.
Is she going to get going?
She was kind of sitting, and then when they turned for home, she just kind of flipped another gear. And
yeah.
I thought she did everything right in that race, everything you would have wanted to see. He comes back with 2 works locally over the surface here. That last drill on the 4th of September, 47-4. He looks very good out on track.
How great does she look with a big bone in her neck going by the grandstand here?
No, he looks outstanding out there, just in a light gallop. I think Solarity's one of the many Barb Heads horses we'll see out here that have a very good chance. And, I mean, she loves this surface. She's got to win at this distance. He makes a lot of sense.
Solarity out there with Kwame Joseph for the Bennett's, longtime supporters of the breeding program in British Columbia, and they've had quite a great couple of years here with their 3- and 4-year-olds.
Yeah, I know they breed a lot of good horses, and it's good to see. I mean, they always send over quality horses, and it's always fun to watch. And Solarity's just a testament to that. She's been nothing but honest on the racetrack, and she looks great out there. She's 6-1 on the morning line, and I mean, as good as she is, it's surprising. There's another Barb Heads runner in here that's even lower on the morning line. That just speaks to the quality of the mares that Barb does have.
That we're not going to get to see, unfortunately, this morning, but it's safe to say she's back.
Yeah, I mean, she's ran a couple good races in a row, 7-12 lifetime. I mean, not to touch too long on Infinite Patience, but this is a filly.
This is the top 2-year-old in Canada in 2019.
She was 7-2 in the Fury off AF at Woodbine. She lost by a length to the eventual Woodbine Oaks winner. This is a legit racehorse, and it's great to see her back. Clearly probably needed the start in that May race, but she's proven now that she's back to fine form, and that's going to be so fun to see her.
Tough beat by Solarity, 3 back, and then she's absolutely romped in her next 2.
Yeah, coming out of that sales stake where there's only 3 horses, but the 2nd and 3rd place finishers were both horses we'll see in the Oaks here, and she beat them by 11 in a very good time of 1:43-1 over at Hastings. That's an outstanding time out there. She gives Barb a pretty good 1-2 punch here.
Infinite Patience, of course, owned by Edmonton Oilers now, probably lifetime Edmonton Oiler. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins signed that big 8-year deal. Joined on track by one of the Rob Van Overshot invaders. Adam Isfeld. This would be She's Divine with Rob on the pony. She's Divine the gray.
I think She's Divine's going to be one of the pace presences in this race. When you look at her good races, she's very good at this mile distance. And you look at a chunk of her good races, she's a well-traveled 5-year-old mare, but a lot of her successes come when she's been forwardly placed. You look at that win back at Oaklawn in April where she got on the lead against optional claiming types. I think her best style is going to be maybe not necessarily right on the lead, but if she's not, she'll be very close.
Nice thing too for She's Divine is she's been here. Like she hasn't gone anywhere. This will be her 3rd start here at Century Mile. Had that great effort last time. It was almost like they're pointing towards this race and just kind of working closer towards it every time.
Yeah, and you see that kind of gradual progression from her. She's ran a couple sprints at Hastings off the Oaklawn races, then stretched out here to 7 furlongs, where she didn't run bad, but she just came up a little short, and then stretching out to that mile last time. It was a complete effort, and you just kind of see her rounding into form here. I love that work back on the 4th of September, 1:10-4 for 6 furlongs. That's sizzling. So,
45-3 before that.
Yeah, I think She's Divine. I think you're right on that. She's really pointing to this race. She's getting another crack at this distance. She ran this exact trip at this track about a month ago. I think she's really pointed, and she looks to be another big contender here.
All right, so for our people on track here, that's Sarah's Elegance wandering by you now. Celerity just passed She's Divine, heading into the turn about the 7/8 pole. So again, Sarah's Elegance walking back home. Celerity without the pony, and with the pony, the gray, She's Divine. Now, Josh, pick 4 starts here. All stakes pick 4, $50,000 guaranteed. How many are you taking in this race?
This is where it gets tough, because there's legitimately very good horses that are going to be 10, 15, 20 to 1.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. I think
No matter who you like, you're going to get value.
Yes, and that's when you have such a good quality field lined up. I think you'd have to look towards the middle of the gate for most of your tickets.
You're going to want Princess of Cairo.
Yeah, and I think you're definitely going to have to include Infinite Patience. And then
How about the horse we haven't talked about yet? What about Here's Hannah?
And I think that's where it gets very interesting. The 15-time winner. Only the one start this year, but she's had a lot of local works here. She's been with Dave Nicholson for a while. You see she's had at least 6 works on paper here at Century Mile. She's kind of, as much as I don't want to say wild card, she hasn't ran as much against these ones recently. You just haven't seen her as much. So she's kind of the
Doesn't have
new
the
mix
recency
to
in her.
this. And that's going to be the question. It hasn't ran since the 15th of June, and facing as tough a field as she's probably faced in a long time.
But 2018-19, she was next to unbeatable.
She was outstanding. She's just, I mean, she's never missed the board lifetime. And you look, she had to carry up
She
to
got headed in the
130.
Delta Colleen, carrying 130.
130. That just speaks to how good she was. She was unbeatable.
I think she was giving up 15 pounds that day at least.
It's just, she's been one of the, I've just very much enjoyed watching her for the past couple of years. And she's another one. Enrique Gonzalez gets aboard her. He did ride her back in the Monachie in August of 2020. I think those are kind of the 3 most exciting ones. But then you have the likes. We haven't even touched on a Celerity for your pick 4.
Celerity you need. She's just headed home here by the fans on the tarmac. Hidden Grace we haven't talked about. Another one who's 15 to 21. And what about Raider?
Rico Walcott, Greg Tracy. She's a 10-time winner. She's more than capable. And a horse like Raider is going to be 10 plus to 1.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to get Rico.
Yeah. I mean, when's the last time you got Rico and Greg Tracy in a stake at 10 plus to 1? I don't know. It's just, that's how good this field is. This race is just going to be so exciting. We've got so many good horses, and they're all going to meet on Saturday night. I would go towards the middle of the gate. I think Princess of Cairo and Infinite Patience are my 2 ones I do like, but I can't disrespect Here's Hannah. And even another one I think you do have to look at a little is She's Divine, purely for the speed factor. She's going to be up there. She's really pointing to this race, and we've seen the Van Overshot barn have a very good season. She's another one that is progressing and getting a trip she likes over the track she's familiar with. It's a very interesting bunch.
Should be a great race to kick off that $50,000 guaranteed at pick 4. But let's put the distaff to bed. Move on to the 3-year-old fillies. We have the first one on track here. She is backtracking there by the 4.5 pole. That'll be Heidi.
Yeah, Heidi does ship in here for the Swift Thoroughbreds and trainer Dino Condolinius. She's ran into some pretty stiff competition in her past couple races, running second to Infinite Patience, third and second in her prior 2 starts to that to Bayako's Image, who we saw win the Washington Oaks very impressively. She's another filly that's really done nothing wrong in her career. She did have the one race at Woodbine where she was bumped at the start and it didn't really go her way, but you look at 2021, she's yet to miss the board. She even beat Bayako's Image earlier this year, and I mean, we all know how good Bayako's Image is.
She's straight across there at the 5 furlong pole.
Heidi also
headed
looks
the
to
right
be
way.
one of the horses in here that is going to be part of the speed. I think on paper this race is interesting, the Century Casinos Oaks, from a pace standpoint. There's quite a few in here that do want to have some speed. There's not necessarily one confirmed speed horse. I'd probably say Sheltered Bay, but you look, Heidi wants to be close. Tabernacle in her first route was on the lead. There's just I could go through the whole field and talk about how a lot of these horses at least want to be in the front half of this field, and I think Heidi's another one that will do that. But I'm sure she'll be glad not to be facing Bayakoa's Image or Infinite Patience today. She's kept pretty good company this year for the Always Live Dino Condolinius barn.
But obviously this is a horse they thought a whole lot of last year. She broke her maiden by 5 first time out. Next stop was Woodbine.
Yeah, and I mean that's sometimes a lot for a 2-year-old shipping out within a month, starting over at Woodbine, going to 7 furlongs, bumped at the start. I mean, that's I mean, that can be a tough thing
It's a
on
lot.
a horse. But
Yeah.
clearly they thought enough of her to take her out there. And then you look, 24th of May comes and beats Bayakoa's Image and then does run underneath her a couple times. But she's never really ran a bad effort this year. You can't fault the 11-length second-place finish to Infinite Patience.
No.
And Bayakoa's Image was a handily winner in the Washington Oaks.
And is sticking around Emerald for their older mares race, which will be favored.
So that just speaks to the quality of the company Heidi's been keeping. And I think the most attractive thing about Heidi is that 12-1 morning line for a horse that's never missed the board other than that start at Woodbine. She shows up every time. She's kept good company. She's another one that should get a nice trip from the rail. Expect her to be pretty close, and you'll get Silvino Morales on board.
So that'll be Heidi for the Swift Thoroughbreds as She's Divine makes one last lap here. Another 3-year-old filly on track here just by the 3.5 pole there. So closer to the turn for home, 3.5. That's Plum Blues. Ran a couple of bangers here in her first 2 starts after some okay races in Manitoba.
And I got to think Plum Blue's very much going to like the race shape here. She's one of the closing types. You look at least at her recent form where that optional she won here on the 8th of August, beating older horses, and It's Alexis and Nice Brown Girl.
And one going away.
Looked very good that night. And then last time just lost a close photo to Dance Hughes, and she was coming with every stride. And with a lot of horses on here that want to be close, Plum Blue has proven she can pass. I think if she runs that race from the 8th of August, that's going to make her pretty tough.
Should be a handful.
There should be something to run at. She's getting better for a horse that ran for 5-2 on the 23rd of June to be beating horses like Nice Brown Girl on the 8th of August. She's clearly getting better and better and better. And I think we both like horses that are peaking at the right time. And I think Plum Blue is one of those horses that really is peaking, going to get the right shape of the race. She's a dangerous contender at 10-1 morning line.
Absolutely. Plum Blue, you got a little bit of a measure of revenge against Extrema last time out, where she was able to beat her after Extrema got her twice in Manitoba, but I think Plum Blue will be a big player for a big prize in here. Again, Rafael Zenteno Jr. will ride for trainer Rick Hedge, who's got a couple live ones on the day.
I think Rick Hedge, between the Oaks and the Derby, has 2 nice closers in there. I know I've always been a fan of Bodie Monster, and I think Plum Blue's similar in that
You're trying to get that horse home all year.
Pardon?
You've been trying to get that horse home all year.
Maybe I'll be validated on Saturday. I've been chasing, I've been trying, and I'm not going to give up quite yet. You can't jump off.
You got to
yet.
give him one more shot of the 1.25 miles.
I think he wants every bit of that, and I think he will be storming for home. But Plum Blue's another one that makes a lot of sense in here. And I think the Oaks, you could argue, is probably the toughest race to handicap on the card, because I know looking through helping do the morning line for this race, it was tough to even make a favorite.
Yeah, we went back and forth on a number of horses and ended up with Sheltered Bay for the reasons that she's been here. She's won a couple races here, but there's some wild cards in there as well. We do have a shipper here who tried that same race with Dance Shoes, Plum Blue, and Extrema. We are looking for Mirena.
Mirena comes out for the Milton Palmer barn, who's had a very good start to his Alberta training stint here. You see Milton sent over a handful of horses. I believe he's got around 8 here, and they've all ran pretty well. And Mirena is a stake winner last year, did win the sales stake last year, did run in the Sadie Diamond Futurity, took some money that day. And she's got experience at the distance. You know, she's ran a couple mile in the 16th and did run in that last prep going a mile and an 8th. I think she's another one that wants to be forwardly placed.
Looks like we got some boys coming out on track here. The Canadian Derby, the one up next, and that'll be one we went back and forth on who to make the favorite. It's Myopic.
Myopic for Robertino Diodoro and Rico Walcott will be getting the leg up. He was a $200,000 purchase at a race in training racing sale. Coming out of the Manitoba Derby where he ran a good second to Uncharacteristic. And I know that there was some comments about him with the lights. So that's for a horse.
He's the picture of health this morning.
That was only his 4th lifetime start. I know reading some comments from the trainer that he was a little rushed getting him there, and I think they're very happy with the way he's come into this. Couple nice works at Canterbury since, and looks perfect out on the track. And he's an interesting one. He's clearly got a lot of talent. Did have the 2 starts in Southern California in the Bob Baffert barn. And I think the switch really flipped when he went to Indiana Grand, got on the lead, and ran that big 85 number, won comfortably by 6, and ran a game race in defeat to a talented horse and uncharacteristic. And I think he's one that you expect to get better and better and better. Career start number 5 here. He's a candy ride. I think it's going to be very interesting to see Myopic.
I think the interesting part of the Derby in general is you've kind of got the 2 contenders that are really lightly raced. I think Tony's Tappet, he's got like 15 starts.
I think I was adding it up yesterday. The rest of the field combined has 18 wins, and Tony's Tappet has 9. That is not a normal situation. And yeah, I mean, you got Myopic and Uncharacteristic lifetime combined have 9 starts, where Tony's Tappet has 10 starts this year.
Just this year.
8 wins this year. So yeah, that's the very fun part of this is you got 2 horses that are getting better and better and still very lightly raced. And then you got the known commodity, the local horse, who's seen it all and done everything.
So, of course, we don't need to harp on Tino, Rico. It's the Derby. We know how good they are together. They seem to always make the right choice. They've won a number of Derbies together all the way back to Broadway Empire, Edison, Chief Know-It-All, who crossed the wire first at least anyways, Sky Promise. So, almost last year, when he came rolling there late, I thought he was going to get up in Something Natural.
Something Natural, yeah. And I mean, when Tino brings horses for the Derby, they warrant respect. It's simple as that. They're
here to win.
They're here to win. You got Rico on board. Great. They've gone out and bought a very nice horse. And clearly they have expectations for this horse. And, I mean, you can't fault him. I think he's tactical. I think he's going to be forwardly placed. And I'm going to be curious to see the speed in this race because there's some other horses that do want to be close. I know
who's going with them?
The Smart Play try to go. And then I think you have a bit of a question mark is, what Papa Culo's coming out of sprint races. He tried to press in his one start at St. Croix Mile. He wasn't too far off 21-4, 44-3, but that was going 5.5. Whether they tried different tactics going a mile and a quarter, he's such a wild card. You don't really know what to do, but I got to think Myopic's going to be right up there.
Being a Schramsberg, I don't think he wants to press the pace for a mile and a quarter.
I wouldn't think so, but they might view that as his best style. I'm not really sure, but I got to think Myopic, they're confident enough with their runner. He's going to run the race he wants. Break out there, get forwardly placed. That quite possibly could be on the lead. And he's going to be a tough horse to run down. If he gets out there, he looks very good. And I just think he's going to be a major player. And that's why he's 3-1 on the morning line.
Myopic getting his air in here as he makes his second trip around the track. Again, picture of health here for Robertino Diodoro and Rico Walcott as he passes by us here at the 16th pole. Bit of a clean slate right now. We got Myopic out there. Heading home, it is Mi Reina, the blue cap. In front of them was Plum Blue. So Oaks Gals headed home. There's Plum Blue. Devin Stead in the irons this morning as Myopic heads into the turn. Don't be scaring that horse, Julie. Joined by another Derby contender on track here. Might be lying to you. That might not be a Derby contender. That might be another Oaks contender. Myopic snuck in there. Run, Lola, run. Looks like Maddie Zeichel on the pony.
Run, Lola, run. Another one from the Barb Heads barn. She has a pretty strong hand this weekend. She didn't do herself any favors at the poster. She's got post 10 and 11. But with
Why'd you do that to her?
With that, I didn't pull the piece. I pulled the cards. I think you're trying to blame me here for something that was out of my control. But I think Run, Lola, run's an interesting one in here. And I did find it interesting that Antonio Reyes, who had been riding both Run, Lola, Run and Definite Pleasure, does opt to ride Run, Lola, Run.
I think she's better than her last.
Yes, I think so. And maybe I'm looking at the Oaks wrong, but there does appear to be a lot of pace in here, and I think Run, Lola, Run's proving she can pass horses. And you got to think she gets a nice stalking to mid-pack trip. And I think that post 10, going the mile and an eighth, you just have that much more time before the turn. It's not like a mile.
Yeah.
You have plenty of time to sort yourself out. And I think Antonio Reyes, who does ride a lot for Barb. I think you look at that race when she broke her maiden 2 back. I think that was a pretty darn good effort. And you have to be forgiving of her last. That was her first time going long. 1 mile and 1/8 off the
New
ship.
track.
First time. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to take in there. I do like that she did have that bullet work on September 4th here. I think she'll be much better than her last effort.
Let's touch quickly on the outside horse there in Definite Pleasure for Barb Heads. And more specifically, how about the mare?
Montero, wow. That's all you can say. This is one of 3 Monteros we'll see between Raider, Infinite Patience. They'll be lined up against each other. And then the younger sibling here, Indefinite Pleasure, who looks to be keeping up the pressure of the family here. I mean, just getting better and better for owner Bill DeCourcy. I mean, coming off that 72 buyer number last time, that's high.
Huge. Huge.
I mean, that's the highest last out of the field. I mean, you got to respect her. I mean, she's never gone long, and I think that'll be the interesting one by second in command. But
how about this? She's 3 for 3 this year against girls.
yeah, can you really knock? And you look who she lost to against the boys. Pay My Way.
In the
There's
Derby.
a horse we'll see in the Derby. I mean, that's not, you can't fault anything Definite Pleasure's done. She's bred to be a good horse, and I think she's getting better though. Like you look at her form from, I mean, her 2-year-old year, she struggled a little bit, looked good off the bench this year, tried the boys, but her last 2 efforts have been legit to optional 16 types, and those are beating older horses.
I know they wanted to get her to relax a bit, and it looks like she did that last time, didn't just rock it off to the front, and was able to have a bunch left in the lane. But how about the Barb Head stats going sprint to route?
34%.
34%.
You can't argue with stats.
Nope.
34%. Jockey Dane Nelson will get the leg up on Definite Pleasure. I think Barb's got to like her hand here. She's got one that can be forwardly placed, one that can make up some ground, 2 very nice fillies. Gives her a good chance to win the Century Casinos Oaks.
So that's Myopic heading home there on screen. Heading by us. Nice easy morning for Run. Lola Run underneath the screen. I think we were joined on track a moment ago, headed the wrong way by Broad Approval. Up by the 3.5 furlong pole currently. Just to the right. Approaching the half-mile pole. Stop. The 4.5 on the backside is where Broad Approval is. Second one for trainer owner Glenn Todd. Efren Hernandez in to ride. This one also coming to us via Washington.
Yeah, it wasn't seen all that long ago at Emerald Downs on the 29th of August. Did run into Bayakoa's Image, who I know we had mentioned before, and she's another one that's pieced together a pretty good record. I mean, she does 5 lifetime seconds out of 8 starts, and I think the interesting thing with Broad Approval is you look early in her career, it was mostly forwardly placed efforts, whether it was on the lead or very close. But her last couple looks like she's been learning something. She's been learning to pass horses. I mean, coming from 8th at one point in the Washington Oaks, sat 5th in the Kent Stakes at Emerald. I think maybe they're teaching her to rate a little and to sit off, and the style she runs might be very suited for the Oaks.
You think she'd be happy to get off the rail?
I don't think that'll hurt. I mean, you look at that, 2 times in a row on the rail, and even prior to that, did have the 1-4 spot at Hastings, but did have the rail a few times before that. So I think that post 4 is a nice spot in the gate. She'd be able to get away and establish some position. You do get Efren Hernandez in to ride. He is Glenn's guy in Vancouver.
24%.
Yeah, you can't really knock that connection. And I just think I think her last couple races she probably got a lot out of. She already proved she can handle the ship, and she's coming back relatively quick from that 29th of August, so clearly feeling good for live connections. I think she's going to be one that sits mid-pack and has a good run when they turn for home.
That's Broad Approval for the Glenn Todd barn. On the backside, just hanging out by the 4.5 furlong marker. Looks like Major Shepard has joined us. 4.5. A little more right. Just at the exactly at the 4.5. That's too far. 7.
He's on the backside.
He's on the backside.
He's going the other way now. He's going towards the half mile.
He's headed the right way there at the just past the 4.5. Run though the run headed home here.
And now on screen, we do have a look at Major Shepard for trainer Gordy Amthor. One that did start his career here at Century Mile, did run here as a 2-year-old and to kick off his 3-year-old season, but then did spend the rest of his season so far at Assiniboia Downs in Winnipeg. 2 starts ago did try the Manitoba Derby, where he did run into uncharacteristic and myopic rivals he will once again face today. He's coming out of a non-2 allowance where he was favored going a mile. I think he's going to be...
He's got to be close, isn't he?
I got to think so, and it was odd that he had a bit of trouble in the Derby, so he didn't get away as good as he wanted, but he's one that is going to be quick. I mean, you look at his sprints here at Century belongs here. I think his best strategy is going to be forwardly placed. He's an interesting one. I do like that he had the race over at Manitoba in the Manitoba Derby, going 1 1/8 at Assiniboia. I think he's going to have to try to find a way to turn the tables on those top 2, but we'll see what you get. He's a horse that he picks up some slices. I mean, 5 of 9 lifetime are second place finishes for him. He's going to be one of the bigger prices in here, but he's traveled. He's got a lot of racing. He should be fit. Gets Dane Nelson aboard.
So what happened in the Manitoba Derby? Because he's been pretty close to the pace every other time.
Yeah, well, he didn't get it. Looked like he didn't get away the greatest, and you know, at least he passed some horses late. That's a positive thing. He was sitting 9th, turning for home, and then was able to get into 4th. I know it was beaten 12 lengths, but at least he did pass some tired ones, which I think this is the type of horse that maybe you're looking to spice up your exotics in the Derby. And he can overcome some adversity for a horse that had never been too far out of it. I know he did stumble at the break in his first start at Assiniboia, where he got away 7th and ran very well and was getting to the winner, but just finished second, beaten 3/4 of a length. But I think in a perfect world for Major Shepard, he's going to be sitting close.
Major Shepard for Ken and Gord Amthor. You have Doug's pal on track as well here. Where's Doug hanging out? Looks like Doug's heading right into the lane now. There's Doug's pal on screen. What do you make of Doug's pal? They kind of took everything. They claimed the horse, took everything, and threw it out, and they're starting fresh.
Blinkers off. First time gelding, adds Lasix, new barn.
They must like what they bought.
Clearly they did, and this was a horse I know I'd spoken earlier this year that I was high on. I mean, I thought he'd ran some good races. Yep. I thought especially last year as a 2-year-old, he ran some professional races. I mean, keep in mind this horse did run a 62 buyer number as a 2-year-old. I mean, he seemed to struggle a little bit this year, just hadn't quite got into form, and he ran even some okay, like that 4th of June race, Shot Through the Heart, who's a nice horse for the Craig Smith barn.
Count on it in there.
Yeah, I mean, did run some okay races, but just for whatever reason, just didn't
kind of lost the shuffle.
Piece it together, and struggled. So ended up dropping, and then did drop to the 6 non-2 level last time, where he won wire to wire, went relatively quick, and was claimed that day by Robert Kingston and owners Pink Cloud Racing. I mean, he's stepping up in class, no doubt, coming from a 6,000 non-2, but he has faced some of these. He did face Tony's Tappan in Smart Play, and this is also going to be his first time going long. He's never gone past 7 furlongs. He's a complete wild card in this field, but clearly the connections have confidence here. They clearly like Doug's pal.
He's come back to work a couple times, 46 flat. There, tops of the morning on August 22nd. Nice 6 furlong drill following that. With the blinkers off, he's not going to the front today, right?
No, I got to think you want to relax him. I think he's shown ability, and that's part of the reason I liked him so much. Was as a 2-year-old, he showed ability to sit off paces and close some ground. You look at that 4th of October race, or even the 19th of September from last year, where he did close some ground. And I think he's got that ability to pass horses. So I think they're going to try to relax him. I think they're going to try to sit him mid-pack and just be patient with him. And when it's time to go, Doug's pal's proven he can run by horses. It's going to be his toughest test yet, but with a bunch of different changes, new scenery, that might be what Doug's pal needs. And he's going to be a big number if you do like him.
Like you said, wild card in this field, Doug's pal, Bob Kingston, and Pink Cloud Racing. Another Derby horse on track here for the Jerry Robertson barn at the... Should be backtracking here momentarily. It's Smart Play. Looks like he's headed into the stretch here. Smart play, probably a pace factor in here.
I'd have to think so, and I think he can do multiple things. He did in his first route hop on the lead. I mean, they didn't go crazy fast, but he got loose in there, and I thought he ran a pretty
quick. I mean, 23:47.
I thought he ran a pretty brave race, all things considered. I mean, you look at the likes of the more seasoned Tony's Tappet, the more seasoned Bodie Monster running him down, and I think he's pretty versatile. I thought his maiden win on debut was very game against Major Shepard, who
and Bodie Monster
had experience, had ran more times, and I know Smart Play, they were all kind of battling in the stretch, and he just had another gear to him. Then I thought his second lifetime start against Walk the Line, he learned something there. They took him back off the pace. He closed up to be second. And then he hasn't ran bad. I mean, he's ran second to Tony's Tappet and then third, only beaten 3 to him and Bodie Monster. This horse isn't out of it by any means. This is his second time going long, and he's proven that he's going to be probably forwardly placed, but he can run well regardless, whether it's just sitting a little off. If someone else wants to go and he sits second or third, he's more than capable of doing that. And he's another one, kind of like the big players in myopic and uncharacteristic, that's lightly raced. This is only career start number 6.
I think it's what you want to see. You want to see that progression, and he's giving it to you now.
I thought his last race, there was no shame in that at all. Like you say, wasn't like they just gifted him fractions on the lead. He did work for those. He held on relatively well to only be beaten 3 lengths.
And his first time going a mile and a thing. I mean, first time 2 turns here, it's a big change.
You know, and you see those horses make progressions and they stick around a little bit longer and a little bit longer. And Smart Play, I mean, was only 3 lengths behind the Derby favorite last time, spotting some experience at the distance and lifetime. Career start number 6. He's going to be better for it. Has had a nice work since. Can't rule out Smart Play. I think he's very live.
Antonio Reyes looking for a big afternoon and evening on Saturday. Just at the chute there at 6.5 furlongs, Papi Chulo has joined us on track. And talk about wild cards. What do you make of Papi Chulo?
I was going to say, I said Doug's Pal's a wild card, but I think I got to use my wild card on Papi Chulo. I mean, he's won some impressive races on the B circuit at Lethbridge and Grand Prairie. He did show up here on the 13th of August when he faced some optional 12-type horses. That was sprinting. He tried to make the lead and ended up tiring. But you don't know. I do like that at least after that race, he came back relatively quick and did run a mile and an eighth over at Grand Prairie. I just like horses that at least ran some kind of distance. No one's obviously ran the mile and a quarter yet, but at least he ran a mile and an eighth. The competition, I think, is obviously the question mark, but a horse that has some talent here, he's going to be an interesting, and he is, not to harp on it, but he's truly the wild card of this field.
He is. It's his 4th race in a month, so he should be plenty fit.
There's no doubt about that. He's got to be fit. I will give you that. He's got to be fit.
Did race last weekend there at Lethbridge. Crushed him again on the B track, but we'll see what Papi Chulo can do. I would be a suicide mission to try to go at the front. Right?
I don't think you want to do that. I gotta think you treat his last race like it was a work. He was a huge favorite, won comfortably.
Did all he had to do in 110.
Yes, he did what he had to, and I'd have to think you want to sit him off because you look at the time he pressed the pace here against tougher competition. It didn't work out for him. I got to think you want to sit him and try to relax him because I think if you just try to ride him too hard too quickly, that mile and a quarter, that's going to be a tough trip to do that. I'd like to see Papi Chulo try to at least rate and relax a little bit because I think if you don't, that's going to be a long mile and a quarter.
So Papi Chulo and Smart Play out there currently. Obviously, Papi Chulo doesn't need to do much this morning.
No. I mean, he did quite a bit on the 5th of September, so I'd hope here on the 10th of September he takes it easy. But that is one of 2 Lionel Joseph trainees in the Derby. He does also have Buck West, who I don't know if
What do you make of Buck West?
Well, I'll tell you, Buck West is getting better and better for a horse that showed up for a waiver maiden 6 to start the season. Couldn't break his maiden for 12, but he's another one that, you seem to be making the progression. I thought he ran a good maiden race going a mile when he was behind Jumaria Coast and Bodie Monster. And at 32-1 last time behind Tony's Tappet, Bodie Monster, and Smart Play, he didn't run a bad race. I mean, when you look at where this horse was early this year, I didn't think on the 30th of May, watching that maiden 6, we'd have a Derby starter in it. But Here we are with Buck West, and he's getting better. I mean, he's still going to be a relative price in here, but at least he held his own. He proved he could hold his own against this company last time.
He'll be joining us momentarily, I do believe.
I think that was a big question for me coming out of some of those races, is what he really is. And even look too back when he did break his maiden. He beat Doc Cope relatively comfortably, who came back to win. That's a nice horse that Ron Greaves does train. So
Kind of a late running sprinter.
yeah, Buck West is starting to prove that he can hang with the big boys here, and this is going to be his ultimate test on Saturday. But he gets Antonio Whitehall getting the leg up from Lionel, and this is another interesting one in here, and another one that's going to be a big price if you did want to use him. Buck West, 20-1 on the morning line.
There was Poppy Chulo bias here at the finish line. Smart play on the backside as we wait for the next couple. Buck West should be momentarily, and same with My College Fund. Looks like the green Willow Creek blinkers are on the track. Heading straight on. Robbie Henson will be aboard. My College Fund. I love it when the trainers gallop there. My College Fund. And for trainer Robbie Henson in the Willow Creek Farms. And, I mean, this is a horse who's going to be a price, but has done nothing wrong.
And talk about a horse that's really woken up going long. You look at his form going long. He's ran a mile and the 16th at Hastings the 5 times, 4 wins, and the time he did finish second, he's beaten a nose.
Devalued.
A horse who we saw show up here for Milton Palma that ran against open
10,000
claimers.
claimers.
Yeah, horses with 10, 12 lifetime wins. So speaks to what they thought of him. This is a horse, I mean, numbers-wise, I'm not saying buyers mean everything. His last 2 don't put him out of the mix by any means.
Not at all. A 70 and a 65. 44 and 2. That's, 43 and 1 is the track record.
Yeah, I know he's a horse that's getting better. And I like the way he runs going a mile on the 16th. He runs very professionally. I did get a chance to watch his last race. I was watching Hastings that day, and I just thought it was a gritty effort. He was a big favorite that day, but, he sat 6th, made that move, just did everything professionally, what you'd want to see from a horse. And, I know the dam Miss Katie Range, she did run in the Oaks. He got good there, the dam herself. By finality, a prominent BC sire.
He can run forever.
Yeah. And my College Fund, he's going to be interesting, and he's in good form. For a horse that hadn't shown a lot up until that 5th of July race, they dropped him down to the maiden 5 level, and a switch flipped for him.
Obviously, they thought enough of him last year to start in a stake race. He was in for no price. He ran with Heidi.
And he's just getting better and better. And as much as you look at his race on form for keeper, I wouldn't be worried about that because he's climbing up the ladder.
Horses can't read the form.
Exactly. He can't read the form. All he knows is he likes routing.
He likes winning.
And he likes winning. And he's getting both of those today. He's going to get to route. He's got a chance, from that outside 11 post. And I love the mile and a quarter here. You have so much time to sort yourself out before that turn. Basically, starting right by the quarter pole there. You got a ton of time to sort yourself out. Expect an outside stocking trip for My College Fund, but hey, talk about a horse in good form. It's My College Fund.
Here's something I had to ask because I didn't know. So how has he been able to run for no price for this many starts? Because presumably he would have tried something tougher along the way, but he hasn't had to.
I think you told me this answer yesterday.
So as long as you're going up in class so the problem with Hastings was they've had a couple ends to their meet planned, and thankfully they've been able to extend them and keep going. But they've been able to, if you went up in class after you won to the next level, you're able to keep your waiver. And he just kept doing that. 4,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16,000. So his heart's probably as big as the grandstand right now.
And I think that's an interesting point because this horse might have been in tougher spots if there wasn't waiver claiming. But why wouldn't you take advantage? If you're eligible, braving him up, get wins, make money. And now some of those purses there for the BC breds, as you see, is bred in BC. Some of these purses now for BC breds are very good. They've kicked some extra money in. So he's taking full advantage of the way the condition book's written there. And he's just getting better.
He's made almost as much money as Myopic this year.
How can you fault that? He's picking out. $32,000 this year. How can you not? You've paid for yourself and then some. And this is basically a free roll of the dice here for My College Fund. I'm sure when they let him over on the 5th of July to the paddock that day, they didn't think they'd be here on September 11th. But
I'm sure Robbie knew.
Maybe I'm not giving Robbie enough credit, but nevertheless, I think My College Fund. It's great to see. I love horses that when they're getting good, and I know that's an interesting point. We always talk about who's pointed for a race, especially at this time of year when horses, you see horses trying to point here, and it looks like My College Fund's really got everything rolling heading into the most important race yet.
So just in behind him, looks like we've got some mile prospects on track as well. Just in behind My College Fund will be Sir Bregovic, Carson Fry in the irons. How about the early part of the year that Sir Bregovic had?
I mean, outstanding is one word. I mean, when he went 115 and 3,
unbeatable is another one.
He's just he is so quick. I mean, look at that work he did here on September 4th. 57 flat. I mean, he's just
45 and 3.
Yeah, and you have to be very forgiving of his last race in the
I
Longacres.
put a line through it.
Outside post, couldn't get up there. You know from the inside here, he is going to be all systems go. That's his style. I'm going to be curious to see. He does have a win going him on the 16th at Hastings. You do have to look back to September of last year to find that. But there's no real questions what Sir Bregovic wants to do. He's going to send and he's going to rock and roll for as long as he can, as fast as he can. And he's dangerous. You look at the legs. I mean, Porter Gent was a horse who he beat 2 back who was nominated for this race.
Cascade
Bailey,
Billy.
Driller. Yeah, I mean, he's kept good company. He did beat Uncharacteristic. What a 10-2 that was.
Yeah,
on the
turned out to be a
25th of
decent
May.
race.
Not too many of those turn out to have the type of horses they did, but wow, I mean, he's just done nothing really wrong, Sir Bregovic, and he's tough. You look at, I mean, he's had 4 wins this year, and you look.
He's not getting loose on these leads. He's getting hounded the whole way.
And 3 of his wins have been by 3/4 of a length or less. He fights. He's got grit, and I mean, he's dangerous because he's got speed. You got to think going into that first turn, he's going to be the one in front. They're going to have to run him down. He's shipping in from Emerald here. Does have the 2 local.
Been here for a
works,
few weeks,
which I do like. And for James Strachan, Silvino Morales gets aboard for the first time. They're going to have to run down Sir Bregovic, 12-1 on the morning line.
Do you have another mile contender out there, just between Sir Bregovic? So in front of Sir Bregovic, and just behind my college fund will be Explode. That's a pony. There goes Explode for the Rob Van Overshot barn, and the 4th there from Adam Isfeld.
Yeah, Explode.
No stranger to Century Mile.
The 2019 Canadian Derby winner. I did make his return here earlier this year and has ran some pretty credible races. Has ran second in both his starts at Century Mile this year. Did run behind Stonecarver in the Spangled Jimmy, and then last time ran into Greek Geek, who got loose on the lead, backed him down, and then sprinted for home to set a track record. Greek Geek did that day. I thought that was a good effort from Explode, considering the race dynamics that Greek Geek got in front and was just able to have the tactical advantage on him. But he's clearly a horse that has talent. The Rob Van Overshot barn, and Adam Isfeld claimed him for $25,000 off Mark Kluge back on the 17th of May this year, and then they've been pretty patient with him. You know, they waited for a stake race out here, and he did have a good work on September 4th here. And I'm going to be interested to see Explode. You know he's got the class. He's a 7-time winner, and you know he loves the surface.
Loves it here. I mean, he looked fantastic, winning the allowance prep before the Canadian Derby, sitting just off the pace. I think that's his best game, and we talked about She's Divine kind of getting better and pointing towards races. I think this is the one that Explode's pointing to as well.
Yeah, I think the Van Overshot barn's got to be very happy with the stock they have, and they've
get a plan, work backwards.
And everything's been pointed to this day. They've got a lot of horses that all have good chances, and I think that's been the key for them. There's a lot of money on the line. This can be a day that makes your season kind of thing. And Explodes, they've taken their time with him. They haven't ran him a ton. They brought him out here, so he's settled in completely, and he's won. I think he's going to get that perfect stalking trip because there is some speed in here to run at, especially with the horse we just talked about.
Yeah,
Sir
Bregovic's
Bregovic.
rock and rolling from the fence.
And Explode's quick. Don't forget he can be close if he wants, but I think he's going to sit mid-pack. Alexander Marti, who does ride a lot for Van Overshot, will have the call. Expect him to make some noise.
So there goes Explode headed into the turn. Haven't seen Buck West appear yet. We're just waiting for a 5-star General as well, the favorite for the mile. But again, big day for guaranteed pools. So looking at the day as a whole, started at 250, 10 races on tap, first and quarter horse race. How about those undercard races with 9, 10, or 11 and 12?
I'm really looking forward to that maiden allowance with an 11-horse field.
Van Overshot's live in there too?
He's got a live one. I know Greg Tracy has one shipping in.
Rumor Reigns?
And then Craig Smith has one in there.
Maria Song, a first-timer?
It's a very interesting field. We have that optional 12 that does have a 12-horse field. Then we have a good group of optional 16 horses. I think Hard to Come Home is a favorite in there. The undercard's outstanding. I know we're just talking about the stakes right now, but from 250 onward,
Yeah.
every race is exciting. I like the corridors to kick off the day. Big crowd, get up close and personal. They'll be flying
You
by.
feel those hose pounding
Don't
by you.
blink. They'll be coming by quick. And then the undercard, I mean, this Derby card from top to bottom is outstanding. I mean, whoever wrote the condition book, I think, did a very good job to have it pointed. I see Matt briefly laughing as I said that comment, but it was great to see everyone came out to the entry box. All the horsemen did support very well. I mean, I know lots of people have been talking about the card. I've chatted with a few friends from Vancouver and just people in general kind of
There's
excited
excitement about it.
Which I think that's the best part of the sport. When everyone's excited, it's great to see some familiar faces here, a lot of people here. There's just a buzz in the air.
Yeah.
And
It feels like a big day.
Yeah, and every once in a while, you know, those big days where you got everyone looking forward to something. It's an exciting time, and I think the whole card, there's going to be great wagering opportunities.
So you get a 12-horse optional, and pretty much an on-2 to kick off the pick 5. Again, guaranteed $25,000. Then we come back with an all-stakes pick 4 at $25,000 or $50,000. So 50 grand on that pick 4. All-stakes pick 4, and you got 9, 11, 11, and 11. So you get big fields and tough races.
And you know the pool's going to be good. It's nice with those guaranteed pools and the low takeout on both of those wagers. I know we try to be as player-friendly as possible. And, I mean, I'm just even scanning through the undercard right now. Some of these early race sequences are just insane. You look, you got Irish Trick in that optional 16, Hard to Come Home. And we've seen some Provocative
Mr.
Prince.
Calypso's won a couple this year. Provocative Prince has been tough.
And then that 5th race on the card Saturday, that maiden race, is just a great race top to bottom. You got actually Craig Smith with a couple in there, Not a Doctor, who made his first local start after chasing some horses in Assiniboia. It's just a great card from top to bottom, and I think that one of the toughest races on the card is going to be that 6th, the optional claiming 12,000, going 7 furlongs. You do have the full gate of 12 with Make Good Choices as a moderate 3-1 favorite morning
Tepid
line,
choice.
because someone has to be the favorite morning line. It's not always easy and it's not always
right, but
someone has to be the
Yeah.
choice morning line. And no, it's just going to be a great day of racing. It's going to be a fun event as we do wait for a couple more horses to show up on the track here. I'm looking forward to getting a visual of 5-Star General. He should be joining us shortly.
He'll be closing. He'll be pulling the curtain down. 5-Star General. So that mile race, while we wait for General, we've seen Sir Bregovic this morning. We just saw Explode head on by. Regal Max has got speed. Zicatello might be a sneaky good claim. How about the Tim Rycroft pair and Greek Geek and Stone Carver drawn next to each other there? Both track record holders.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't think Greek Geek will try to go to the lead today just because I think his stablemate's quick.
I don't
and
think
then
he has to.
Sir Bregovic. Yeah, I don't think he has to, and I don't think you want to. I think Stone Carver's best way. Stone Carver can sit a little off too. He doesn't have to have the lead, but I got to think he's going to ensure an honest pace. And you look at the bulk of his form is sprinting. He's ran this distance twice but hasn't hit the board. He likes the track, and he's in very good form. I mean, he hasn't ran a bad race yet this year. He's got the 2 stake wins, and he was second in that optional 25 to start the year, where him and Deuce Are Wild went head-and-head crazy, and War Giant, his stablemate, sat third and got that perfect
Yeah,
dream
that
trip.
racing fitness too.
Yeah, coming in from Tampa. That's always tough to – you can work them, but it's always tough to replicate race day fitness. It's going to be –
just outside of them. How about a $900,000 earner in Pioneer Spirit? 13 wins into his name.
and this is a horse that earlier this year was claimed for $50,000 and was ran right back in the Oaklawn Mile. Clearly they thought highly enough.
By my standards.
Yeah, by my rush. I mean, this is a horse that, not to go too far down on his form, but the last 11th of April, I mean, he ran against Tom's d'Etat, Improbable. I mean, this is a horse that's classy and was claimed back for $62.50 on the 9th of May at Churchill. And ran in the Manitoba Mile in his last start, was on the lead. Did get a little tired, but you do look at those fractions, especially for Winnipeg, 22 and 3. That's relatively quick. Did set up some closers that day. And once again, Robertino Diodoro, Rico Walcott. Not to harp on it too much, but that's such a live connection. You have to respect them. This horse knows his job, a 13-time winner. Like Matt said, this can push him over $900,000 in earnings. Pretty cool to get a horse with his kind of history here for the Century Mile.
Speaking of his kind of history, on screen now is the last star of the show this morning. It's 5-Star General, the 5-year-old by Distorted Humor out of a Bernardini mare. 7 for 17 in his career, over $300,000 made in American dollars. And the runner-up in the mile last year, third in the mile this year, crushed them at Hastings back in July. BC Derby winner, Winston Churchill winner. This guy's kind of done it all.
Yeah, and I know he had somewhat of a tough trip in the mile. I was reading an article from Randy
He had
Golding.
a horrible trip.
Yes.
To the fault of nobody. It was just a bad. It was the 8-hole at Emerald. That turn comes up so fast.
Yes.
And if you're not drawn towards the inside, you're in trouble.
And I just thought, for as bad a trip as he had and turning for home, to still have that kick.
A huge effort for a horse who's near the lead usually.
I know, reading that article that Randy Golding did, right, speaking about how Mario and Glenn felt that with a clean trip he wins, and I can't argue that, beating 2 lengths with the trip he had. That it's just an unfortunate one. It's like you say, the turn comes up so quickly. Sometimes you just get into a bad spot. But 5-star General, there's not much.
Probably closer today, won't he?
Yeah, I think he wants to. I think he wants to stalk. I think there's going to be speed, and I don't think he wants to get away 8th. I think he'll try to get away 4th, 5th, and I mean, I think he's the deserving favorite in here, purely based off that last effort. And you look at his mile last year to another twist of fate.
He was 5-2 in that race.
Yeah, that's how highly they speak of. People think of him. He likes this mile distance, and he's versatile. He's quick, but he doesn't have to have the lead, and he's not going to have it today or tomorrow, I should say. He's going to sit a little bit off, and Efren Hernandez once again will ride. Did have a nice breeze at Hastings on the 5th of September. He did actually work back at Emerald after the mile. He's one that looks to be in good form, a 7-time winner.
The one to beat.
Yeah, I thought this was probably, of the 4 stakes, the most clear one to make the morning line favorite in 5-star General. His record speaks for itself. He's ran very well against good horses. He's beaten very good horses. And a lot of times when he hasn't won, it's either been the quality or the trips he's gotten. 5-star General. I have to wonder if people are going to be looking at him as I hate to say, a possible single.
Are you going to dangle those? You saying a key?
Well, you just have to look. This is the last leg of it. The first 3 legs are very tough.
Yeah.
I know people love to play tickets all different ways, and there's no one right way to play a ticket, but some people might look to say, hey, if I get alive to the mile and I have 5-star General,
I'm okay.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because I think the prior 3 legs are tough enough. I know probably a handful of Derby tickets will run through Myopic, Tony's Tappet, and Uncharacteristic. I think Bodie Monster should be in that conversation, but you know my thoughts on that.
How about my college fund? I mean, we talked about him.
Yeah, and then that also throws in the mile and a quarter factor.
Yeah.
It just adds. Most of these horses will never run that long again in their life, never have run that long, and never will run that long again. But I think 5-star General people might look at as a possible key with that nice tactical speed to get that stalking trip. I think if I had a ticket live to 5-star General in the last leg, I wouldn't be upset if I had to have him singled. Obviously, you'd like more coverage in every leg, but he's probably the most logical single in a very quality-filled sequence.
Good impression here for 5-star General. Again, first trip on the track for him. They showed up last night, I believe, so settled into their stalls. Making a good impression on track here this morning. So again, 250 first post. 10 races on tap tomorrow. Derby goes about 7:50. Last race about 8:30, so just under a 6-hour day. So make a whole afternoon of it.
Yeah, it should be a great day. Fingers crossed the weather holds off. I know it
keeps changing.
Yeah, I know.
I'm hoping it changes again.
I've only been in Alberta a couple of years, but I've known one thing, not to be super confident in anything the weather says, that it says one thing, it does another.
Yeah.
Or you get a bit of everything, I believe, is the... But nevertheless, I mean, it's a gorgeous morning out here. I mean, we have lots of different areas to come. We got tents. We got whether people are sitting inside. There's so many different options. There's that upstairs OTB that's always a good spot to hang out if you want.
Lots of TVs?
Yeah, lots of TVs. If you want to go sit at a table there, you can walk up there, kind of relax for a bit. There's a bunch of different opportunities. And I love our paddock for big days. There's just so much viewing space at our paddock. I know coming from Hastings where there's the paddock there. If you're not there before the horses come on big races, you're standing second or third in line. Where here, there's just so many opportunities to get a good view of the horses. But it should be a very fun afternoon. Like you say, 6 hours. But I mean, from the minute the races start, I think every race is going to be very interesting and appealing, and fields are going to be big. And I think there's going to be wagering opportunities galore. I don't think there's going to be too many.
I think the big thing is check back tonight or in the morning. Even tonight's card, the last few races are a little tricky. We could be looking at a carryover.
Wouldn't that be something if we had a carryover going into Derby
tomorrow?
Day? But I mean, you look at tonight's card, which, I mean, we end the night with a nice 12-horse, 6,000 non-2. I mean, the 7th race is a 6,000 non-2 for the fillies, but that's a 9-horse field. our 6th race, an 8-horse field of good optional claiming 16 mares. You got Blues Roar in there.
Butterscotch Blend shipping in for Rob Gilker.
You got Rob Gilker, runs a very good operation out in Vancouver. Capabella, who's in very good form for the Gary Robertson barn. Then even we have a 9-horse, 6,000 on 3 Alberta bred 4 to start the pick 4 sequence. That's a 9-horse field. Bareback Jack is 2-1 morning line. He always gets played, had some chances, he gets a lot of slices. I think this sequence tonight, if this is a very possible carryover sequence, so if it chalks out, don't blame either one of us because we're fingers crossed. But tonight's card, I mean, as much as we're hyping up tomorrow, tonight's card in its own right is very good. It's going to be a very fun weekend here at Century Mile. Great racing on both days, and I'm so much looking forward to tomorrow's card. The whole day is going to be fun.
6:15 tonight, 8-race card. Hopefully we can get some money into the pools for tomorrow, but tomorrow is the big one. 250 first post for the 10-race Canadian Derby card. It's the 92nd running of the Derby. Mile, Oaks, and the Distaff are all loaded. If you don't have tickets, there are a few GAs remaining. You can grab those. Join us here at Century. It's the racing manager here. Thanks for watching along with us. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow for Derby. Good luck.